Welcome, Evgen, Matt, Victor. It's great to have you here today to discuss how you and your teams are helping Oracle manage through this unpredictable time, as well as shape its future by making some bold moves to position yourselves for growth in the cloud as the economy starts to rebound from the pandemic. Evgen, why don't we start with you? Oracle's founder, Larry Ellison, is known for seeing into the future and making big bets to realize his vision. And Hari Shankar mentioned in our last session that Oracle itself has taken some bold moves. What are some of the bold moves that you're making now? And perhaps provide us with some specific examples of one and how you're supporting that.
Well, we are never shy of making big, bold movements at Oracle. In fact, it is completely the opposite. Even when there is an economic downturn, we're always investing for future. I will focus on three things specifically: innovation, customer focus, and lead by example. First, on innovation, is we are committed to spend $6 billion annually in research and development activities. We are constantly reshaping our innovation efforts for that vision. We are focused on artificial intelligence, machine learning, autonomous capabilities, and enhancing our cloud application set of offerings. This year, we have made significant investments in infrastructure cloud. As there will not be enough time to talk about every one of them, I will mention just a couple of big moves. We announced autonomous database in dedicated regions. With this, we now provide autonomous services either on your premise with Exadata Cloud at customer or in a dedicated center in addition to our public cloud data centers. We're also investing in a significant data center expansion plan to scale our cloud services, opening 10 data centers in the last financial year. We plan to double the number of data centers in next 12 months or so. On customer focus, we reimagined and re-engineered our go-to-market approach in infrastructure cloud, focusing on customer success. This was a huge effort, and I must say, finance played a major role in this transformation. Last point, we moved the entire company onto our cloud platform and adapted a culture of continuous improvement. Now, all of these huge moves require support from a very resilient, agile, innovative, and a visionary finance function, especially in influencing the investments and resource allocation decisions. In our case, using our EPM capabilities, we developed KPI-driven scenario models for each of our investment portfolios. We developed cash forecasting scenarios. We developed new operational KPIs for each of these areas that I have mentioned. These are just a very few examples. I finish by saying that finance now plays a significantly larger role in shaping businesses, and we must be much more innovative and visionary than ever before.
Thanks, Evgen. That's great to hear. Victor, one of the high growth opportunities Oracle is focused on is your Fusion application suite of enterprise software. As the finance partner to the applications development and North American applications group at Oracle, what are you doing to help optimize investments in this area?
Yeah, hey, Michelle, thanks. I think that, Oracle just continues to focus our investments in our SaaS suite of products. And that's one of the key points in this, in that the integrated suite of products from our ERP SaaS products to the HCM and then to CX, it's a key focus area for us going forward. And as we look to increase our investments in these areas and focus for continued growth, the finance team plays a real big part in doing that. And as customers look at using the products, what you see is an ongoing rollout of new functionality from our development team. They come out in quarterly updates, and it really extends out the ROI for the customers. And we see that every day in how we use our products within Oracle Finance. So as the business partner for the development team and our North America SaaS business unit, applications business unit, my role is not to just to provide data, but to synthesize that data across those platforms and bring that operational and financial insight to the business leaders to help them make the decisions that they need to make to optimize performance. Now, a very real practical example is what we're all going through today with the impact of the pandemic to the economy and each of our companies. So when COVID hit in March, we were just finishing up our annual budget cycle, and we had a pretty stable plan, pretty stable outlook for the next fiscal year. But obviously that all got turned upside down really quickly. And so what the finance team did, and this was really leveraging the investment we had made in our ERP and EPM tool set, we were able to leverage that infrastructure, our simplified processes, our standard data sets, our data visualization tools, and most importantly, our scenario planning capabilities on a stable data set. So the finance team had to quickly react and start doing multiple scenario plans to assess our investments and what our expectations were going to be for the year, so that we could provide that insight up to our senior management to make the decisions they need to make. And it was a pretty interesting time from a finance standpoint in how the team, that agile, flexible approach, where it was a small group of folks with a lot of information, quickly analyzing the trends and the changes and coming up with some very realistic scenarios, which we were able to present back to the business for them to make their decisions, and ultimately then settle on a new plan for the year, which optimized our outlook from a booking standpoint, the revenue flows, and then of course what we can afford from an investment standpoint. And it was while it was a very difficult time on a personal level for all of us, on the professional level, it's quite exciting in what we were able to do and provide that insight and quick, flexible analysis to the company. We weren't doing a bunch of spreadsheet work, reconciling data, but we were providing insight as financial leaders to our business partners to help them make those decisions.
That's great. Hari and I just talked about how important it is to be able to bring scenarios from a scenario planning standpoint, and then really be able to translate that through to the insights that matter to your business partners. So it's great to hear you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks.
To you, Matt. So in McKinsey's research, we learned from the last financial crisis that the most resilient companies that outperformed the market pursued productivity improvements more often and more frequently than others, reducing their operating costs by 3 times as much as their peers in order to create the capacity for growth during recovery. What are some of the strategies and technologies you've implemented to pursue radical productivity improvements at Oracle in today's environment that you believe will serve you well going forward?
Yeah, so Ifkin described some of the big, bold moves that we've recently been taking. And in order to do that, we've really been running a long-range planning process in order to develop our longer-term strategy and ensure reallocation of resource and optimal productivity within our businesses. But recently, and particularly with the COVID crisis, we've seen the need to shorten our planning cycles and really focus much more on near-term activities. So monthly expenses or short-term cash flow, or as Victor described, our plans and re-engineering them based on external circumstances that we see.
That's right. Hari and I spoke about those shorter planning cycles. It's really great to hear that you're finding value in that too at Oracle.
No, absolutely. And what that really means then from a finance perspective is we need to be much more flexible, be much more agile in our approach, and fundamentally, we need to be faster. So through our implementation of ERP Cloud, we're really focusing on an objective that we call the one-day close in order to really generate our actual data much more quickly. That in turn can then flow through to our EPM tool, which really gathers all of our data, both financial and operational, quickly And then we can deploy both driver-based and zero-based planning techniques in order to create the scenarios that Victor described. All of this has allowed us to automate many of our data gathering and analytical activities that previously would have taken the finance team a huge amount of time. And so now we're using that time for really creating action plans and looking for revenue growth opportunities and importantly, cost savings.
Matt, that's great to hear what Oracle's doing to be able to pursue some of those productivity improvements. Are you seeing any common themes among what your customers are doing along those same lines?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I talk to our customers or prospective customers on a fairly regular basis. And really there are a number of common themes, especially in light of the current crisis. So everyone is really trying to use data in order to gain insight, to help understand where productivity improvements are needed. Increasingly, companies are adopting enterprise-wide data set view and really trying to connect operational to financial data to really drive that deeper level of insight. And so consequently, cloud tools become incredibly important to help us to consume that data, to visualize that data. And so really the kind of end-to-end approach that we adopt through our cloud is a critical enabler for companies being able to leverage this type of insight going forward.
That's great. Hari and I spoke about how important it is for companies to look at both financial and operational metrics. So I'm glad to hear that your clients or your customers are also experiencing that.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical.
So another bold move that companies can make to thrive during these turbulent times is to turbocharge the role of fp&a, particularly in the area of investing in finance talent. I know some of the finance organizations that I've seen may lack the fp&a leaders with the analytics and business skills necessary to navigate through the new normal. What are some of the ways you are investing in fp&a talent here at Oracle? Evgen, let's start with you.
Finance plays a much more significant role in shaping the businesses. So this requires a resilient, adaptive, and a visionary finance function. Obviously, it just does not happen overnight. We must invest in our talent. This requires dedication, focus, management mandate, and frankly, a very creative approach to training. So we have invested, very heavily invested actually, in 3 areas in our approach. First, we created a program called Finance Academy. This program focuses on gradual training in analytical skills, modeling skills, soft skills, influencers, technical training in tools and products, managing difficult situations, and so on. It is also designed specifically for business finance, incorporating mandatory training offered throughout the company, but supplemented with multiple levels of specifically designed courses for business finance. Think about this as an undergrad and a graduate program in a college environment. It's very prescriptive with success measurements at the end. As the world changes around us, even as we speak now, we are constantly overhauling these courses, redirecting and reinvesting. Second, we developed a robust rotation program and a talent review process using our HCM products. My management team goes through this process with their entire teams twice a year. Lastly, we also invested in internship and college hiring programs. It again requires a huge investment from management's time and focus, but pays off in the long run. Complementing these investments is obviously the hiring practices for future enablement and focus on diversity. The idea is really to develop a finance function with broad experience in multiple functions, digital technologies, develop thought leaders and decision makers. I'm also very, very keen on providing my team with latest tools and technologies to make their jobs easier, giving them new insights and keeping them excited about new innovations.
Matt and Victor, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so we've been spending a lot of time really thinking about what finance business partnering is in the future. With the development of technology and the tools that we're deploying, really many of the historical activities that we've been doing have been automated. And we can now really develop our finance function into more of a COO integrated operation. So when we think about this, we really think about it on 4 different levels. So finance will continue to provide financial guidance. We will still need to help the business really understand actual performance and provide contextual reporting and analysis on how the business is doing. But increasingly, we'll spend more time being the operational driver, connecting data sets together across the enterprise in order to find insight and drive action plans. That in turn will help us shape the business with scenario modeling and iterative plans. And finally, the strategist, allowing us really to spend a lot of time on developing strategy with our business leaders.
Yeah, I think Matt, it's a great summary. And what we're seeing in our partnership with you at the corporate level or with me at the divisional level is our engagement with the business leaders. We're much more, we're at that table, at that conversation, helping them make those right calls. And I know that what I touched on earlier in that scenario planning that we had to do at the division level, it was critical and very much valued by the GM of the business that I support, how we were able to bring all that data together in a concise and insightful way. And it goes back to the use of our platform, the data from our CRM system, from our HR systems and the financials, and combining that in a way that's intelligent and digestible for them. And I think it really has made a difference in our ability to influence. We're not just seen as the reporters of data, but we're now that strategist with our business partners in driving the business forward. So it's been a great step in the evolution for us and on our finance teams for sure.
Thank you all. And let me add, again, it is terrific to hear about the Finance Academy that Oracle's developed. Very few companies, in my experience, are investing in this type of capability. And I really do believe it's more valuable than ever. So it's great to hear. That was a lot of great advice for the audience to think about as they plan their own bold moves to recapture growth. Evgen, what final thoughts would you leave people with today as they think about how to turbocharge their own FP&A organizations?
Thank you, Michelle. Well, I would say use this crisis as an opportunity to innovate and reimagine your processes. Use the cloud to get rid of all of that legacy and heavy lifting that is weighing you down. Don't just automate your customization. You need a platform that is agile, flexible, and change ready to capitalize on the new growth industries and market opportunities that are being created right now.
That's great advice, Evgen. Thank you so much.